and $1,000 face value bag of junk silver, which contains 715 ounces of silver, um, goes for $16,150 or something. So, and if you just pencil that out quickly, that equates to over $22 an ounce. But if you look at the paper price of silver, it's, I don't know, what are we at this morning? $14 or something. So there's that huge disparity there. And at some point, the paper price has got to come to terms with the physical reality of things.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. Today, fortunate to be joined by a good friend of mine, Scott Close of EMX Royalties, who, in addition to running a great company, along with David Cole, who's the CEO there, also has a great body of knowledge, of experience of the gold and silver markets. And Scott, great to check in with you at this particular point in time where we have the Fed going insane, metals prices, on one hand, a little bit on the lower side, although we've finally seen the cost of physical metal is going up. So curious what you're seeing and what's happening out there.
Well, it's interesting because, we haven't seen an increase really in the metals themselves in terms of the paper price, but the availability of physical product is really slim right now.
Yep.
So there's that huge disparity there between the paper price and the reality when you try to go buy physical metal. And I know I know one source, American Gold Exchange out of Austin, Texas, run by Dana Samuelson, a friend of mine. And I look at the 90% junk silver that they have for sale there, and $1,000 face value bag of junk silver, which contains 715 ounces of silver. Goes for $16,150 or something. So, and if you just pencil that out quickly, that equates to over $22 an ounce. But if you look at the paper price of silver, it's, I don't know, what are we at this morning? $14 or something. So there's that huge disparity there. And at some point, the paper price has got to come to terms with the physical reality of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Scott, you might be the good luck charm because we're actually talking on a day where the silver price is up. It's actually higher than it was yesterday. Does not happen too often. Although another question I had that I'd love to get your opinion on, especially given your position and insight you have into this part of the process. We heard from Keith Neumeyer that he was thinking about withholding some of his production from the market. I read yesterday that Endeavor Silver has done that a couple of times. Can the miners sell directly to some of these companies? I mean, if they don't want to go and put their product on the COMEX, can companies sell directly to a Samsung and Apple? And do you think we'll start seeing something like that happen?
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the that end of the supply chain, but I don't see any reason why they would have to transact that through an exchange, and they could just simply shortcut that middleman.
Yep. Which certainly anything to shortcut the COMEX gets me points on our show, and it sounds like in EMX as well.
So, I will say that, we have a royalty on our Leadville royalty in Nevada on a couple of Newmont assets there. That's out in rural Nevada, and guys driving around in haul trucks or women driving around in haul trucks there simply are, had very limited exposure to the coronavirus. So they continue to operate there. So despite a lot of businesses in the country being shut down, they seem to be operating just fine there. And the same is true at the Rawhide Gold Mine, which is an LLC that we are a member of in Western Nevada. They continue to produce gold every day there. So things are going fine there.
Yeah, although on the other hand, it's interesting. Just last night, we heard the Mexican government shut down all non essential industries, which they define mining as a non essential industry. I read that as much as 51% of the silver supply may be offline, depending on one's calculations of the numbers. But curious, just any thoughts you have on that, where it's interesting because we already have the surge in retail demand. Now we have supply going lower, and at least usually this means price goes up. Has
One
not
would
happened
think.
on the COMEX just yet, but curious your thoughts on those dynamics.
Yeah, I would certainly think that that would have to translate into a higher silver price. There's no question about that. And obviously, as we previously discussed, we are seeing that being reflected on the physical side. And it makes you really wonder what's going on the paper side that this isn't being reflected. So obviously, there's some manipulation going on there. But at some point, I think this has to be resolved, and it has to be reflected closer to the physical value that is being assigned to the commodity.
Yeah, you'd think so. When that happens, I guess we'll see. Although, geez, the signs that perhaps sooner than later are certainly there. And it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. Although, Scott, I appreciate you joining me. Again, Scott is from EMX Royalties. And fortunately, folks, if you'd like to find out more about what they actually do there, very highly regarded business model and business. And Scott, thank you for joining me. And folks at home, to find out more, just click the button that's coming your way now.